starting us up on Rumble. And good morning, hello, and welcome to This Day in History, aka TDH. This show is about what happened today throughout the annals of recorded history. Starting with, what do we have here on November 29th? And before we fully get into it, I just want to say happy day after Thanksgiving, everybody. I hope your Turkey Day was well. And I'm wondering, is this even picking me up? It is. Okay, good. So, I don't know why it's not picking me up on Discord. That's freaking weird. Anyway, and to those who didn't celebrate it because you're in, a godless, thankless country, don't worry. Eventually, one day, you'll have a holiday to give thanks, and stuff. You're bad off when Canada is ahead of you, even though they celebrate it wrongly, but at least they celebrate it. Anyway, moving on up, what do we got here? Starting us off in the year 526, this is the possible date of the Antioch earthquake in the Byzantine Empire, present-day Syria, which killed 200,000 people. Yikes. That's one hell of an earthquake there. And 2 years later, 528, Antioch suffered its second major earthquake in 2 years, killing thousands and destroying its remaining edifice on the same date. And this almost seems biblical, So what is Antioch doing that God doesn't like? Moving on up to 561, following the death of King Cholhor I at Chopien, his four sons, Shariab I, Guntram, Sigurd I, and Chilbric I, divided the Frankish kingdom. I guess Guntram was the least loved because he was the only one not labeled the first. Maybe there was a Guntram first and it died in infancy or something, so this is the second one. I don't know. Anyway, one of those things are unlike the other. Moving on up to 1114, a large earthquake damaged the areas of the Crusaders in the Middle East, with Antioch again, Mamistra, Marash, and Edessa getting hit by these shocks. Antioch, what are you doing? 3 earthquakes on the same calendar dates, although the first two, are one after the other, and this took a while, but still. Moving on up to 1349, the Black Death Massacre occurred, in which Jews of the Free Imperial City of Augsburg were massacred amidst accusations of them causing the bubonic plague, becoming part of a wave of pogroms across Western Europe. Well, not every ass-kicking falls out of the sky. Maybe they were doing something, maybe they weren't. I don't know, I wasn't there. But, this keeps happening, to certain people, and at some point, you have to just understand that, inciting enemies to take the first swing is a highly possible option. 1516, the Treaty of Freiburg brought forth a French and Swiss eternal peace treaty, and I wonder how long that lasted, if it's still around, it's saying eternal, so... let's see, 1596, King Philip II devalued the Spanish currency, and I wonder why. Why he was devaluing. Was he trying to balance it out with some other larger currency or something? 1612, the Battle of Swally took place, which loosened the Portuguese Empire's hold on India. Ooh. So, yeah, the Portuguese apparently had their toes in India as well. Not just the Brits. Moving on up to 1729, the Netherlands signed on to the Treaty of Seville, restoring France and England's trading privileges with Spain. Okay, that's interesting, how the Netherlands had some kind of say in that, but okay. 1729, the Natchez Native Americans massacred 138 Frenchmen, 35 French women, and 56 children at Fort Rosalie near the site of modern-day Natchez, Mississippi. So, once again, not every ass-kicking falls out of the sky. So, yeah. Moving on up to 1732, but before we read it, we are being joined by...
The Golden Loon.
Welcome to the show. How you doing today?
Doing good.
Yeah. 1732 here, the magnitude 6.6 Irpinia earthquake caused 1,940 deaths in the former Kingdom of Naples in southern Italy.
Ooh.
Yeah. And you've already missed quite a bit. We had 3 earthquakes. The first article today was about an earthquake in Antioch killing 200,000 people.
How long ago was that?
1600 something.
That'd be earlier than that. So your first one.
No, 526, not 1600. 526, but then 2 years later, Antioch hit again, and then later on, in 1114, among other places, Antioch hit again.
Whoa!
During the First Crusade.
On the same day.
On the same calendar date, different years.
Yes, obviously.
Yeah,
that's wild.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to move on up here. We took that. We did that. We caused that. Not caused it, but we I hope I didn't
Recorded it.
1775, American physician Sir James J. invented invisible ink. I believe it was for private correspondence revolving around the Revolution. And actually, hold on a second. So this picture is during that pogrom, blaming the Jews for the Black Death.
What do they use to bring the invisible ink out?
I'm not entirely sure, but right here we go. It says here, on this day on November 29th, 1775, an American physician and politician, Sir James J. invented the invisible ink. He was a brother of John J. Jingleheimer Smith. Hey, that's my name too.
John J. Yeah, go ahead.
One of the founding fathers of the United States. Invisible ink was used occasionally after Sir James invented two special fluids and sent a supply to his brother John J. in New York. Sir James would use the ink at the bottom to brief friendly letters to his brother and even send the letters unsealed so that British authorities might inspect the contents. Using this method, James told John of the British ministry's decision to force the colonies into submission. He also wrote from London to Benjamin Franklin and Silas Deane in Paris and warned them of General George Washington's called invisible ink a sympathetic stain or white ink. Oh, so this was invented by a British sympathizer. It sounds like. Like, huh. I would have sworn that invisible ink was invented, to have...
I just assumed it. I didn't have any recollection of it at all. But
well, this sounds like it was used by a British sympathizer at the end. I'm not sure.
Could have been.
Anyway... moving on up to 1777, Spanish expeditionary soldier Jose Joaquin Moraga established El Pueblo de San Jose de Guadalupe, the town of St. Joseph of Guadalupe, the first civilian settlement or pueblo in Alta California, known today as San Jose. San Jose, California. I know where that is.
Yeah.
So, yeah. 1781, this one. Yeah, this is like the article of the day. It's absolutely abysmal. The Zong massacre occurred in which the crew of the British slave ship Zong murdered approximately 54 to 142 African slaves by throwing them into the sea to claim insurance. Good God. Words cannot express how absolutely disgusting that is.
Yeah.
Like, I was talking about this yesterday. Yeah. I am just floored by how. I mean, it's very easy to look back at history and judge with current, predispositions and everything. But to throw even animals over to kill them to claim insurance, that's just disgusting. That's another living creature.
Read it one more time, just to give it some impact.
The Zong massacre occurred in which the crew of the British slave ship Zong murdered approximately 54 to 142 African slaves by throwing them into the sea to claim insurance. Anyway, let's move on up into 1800s. 1803, Dessalines and Christophe declared Saint Dominique, modern-day Haiti, independent.
Oh, Haiti, huh?
Yeah, they're not doing too well though.
No.
1807, John VI of Portugal fled Lisbon from the advancing Napoleonic forces during the Peninsular War, transferring the Portuguese court to Brazil. So the court of law, the law of the land of Portugal, moved halfway across the planet. That's how powerful Napoleon was. Not France, Napoleon.
Yeah, Napoleon. So.
He just so happened to lead France. 1825, composer Gioacchino Rossini's comic opera Il Barbere di Siviglia, The Barber of Seville, became the first opera performed in Italian in the United States, staged at New York City's Park Theater.
Italiano.
Oh, yeah, The Barber of Seville, really big, opera. 1830, the November Uprising occurred, in which an armed rebellion against Russia's rule began in Poland. Yeah, they wanted to get them out of there. 1847, Cayuse and Umatilla Native Americans murdered missionaries Dr. Marcus Whitman and his wife Narcissa Whitman, as well as between 12 to 15 others, at Wealaputu Mission in Oregon Country, near present-day Walla Walla, Washington, initiating the Cayuse War.
Walla Walla.
Yeah. 1850, the treaty punctuation of Olmütz was signed in Olomouc, causing diplomatic capitulation of Prussia to the Austrian Empire, taking over the leadership of the German Confederation. And other sources suggest that they took over this leadership of German Confederation later, so not on the same date. So, 1863, during the American Civil War, Union forces under General Ambrose Burnside successfully defended Knoxville, Tennessee from an attack by Confederate forces under General James Longstreet in the Battle of Fort Sanders during the siege of Knoxville. Ultimately, the Confederate troops would fail to break through the Union defenses with between 800 and 900 casualties. That's on the Confederate side.
Yeah,
and that's dead and wounded. So.
I would have thought it would have been the other way around. The Confederates were defending Tennessee, but Knoxville.
Oh well, no, like they probably were trying to take it back over.
Maybe they had conquered it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
By 1863, because the war ended in '65.
Well, okay.
And Tennessee is like kind of out there when you really look at the South.
And the point of Tennessee, up in the eastern north of it, gets fairly high.
Yeah.
Johnstown.
1864, during the Colorado War, the Colorado Volunteers, led by Colonel John Chivington, massacred at least 150 Cheyenne and Arapaho peaceful non-combatant Native Americans. According to our sources, they're a peaceful non-combatant. In our sources, one of them at least is leftist, so this could very well be just, white man bad propaganda, so... Anyway, including Cheyenne Chief One Eye inside the Colorado Territory, this event today is known as the Sand Creek Massacre. So, it did happen. Yeah. But, were they truly peaceful or non-combative?
What's between the lines has been interpreted in a certain way, and you never know.
Yeah. 1870, compulsory education was proclaimed in England. Yeah, let's make a law forcing people to educate, but then not let them have the finances to educate, and then just so happen to solve a problem we created by giving them, government, education to indoctrinate the children.
Yeah,
I mean, what were you saying yesterday about the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yeah.
Well, it is indoctrination.
No, I get it, but we're talking about, trying to educate the population so they can read and write. That's tremendously beneficial. Later.
That should not be up to what a person does with their education or lack thereof is up to the person, not to the government. That's just big government overextending their power. I'm sorry. I'm all for education. Don't get me wrong. I mean, look at what we're doing. We're doing an education show. But that's on my own accord. I don't have a law pointing a gun to my head telling me to do this. Well, that's what this is, essentially. Anyway, 1877, the United States inventor Thomas Alva Edison demonstrated his hand crank phonograph for the first time, and I wonder what he, what is this? Okay, that's a San Jose thing. Oh, that's a picture of throwing those slaves overboard there, yeah. Barbara of Seville here. I'm sorry, I'm out of practice. Here we go. I wonder who he stole that from, Alva Edison didn't invent shit, very much like, all
He's
the...
pretty young there.
Yeah. Well, it's like,
accurate.
Pretty much exactly, well, I guess today's examples are exactly like him, but like you take Steve Jobs, you take Bill Gates, you take Elon Musk. None of them invented or made shit. They just had the money to hire people to invent and make stuff, and they had the ability to take credit for it because the guy who actually made it doesn't have the finances to get it patented. But Alva Edison does, So, anyway, 1887, the United States of America received rights to Pearl Harbor and Oahu in Hawaii. Oh.
What's that again now?
The United States of America received the rights to Pearl Harbor.
Okay. Yep,
So, the Hawaii was its own nation.
Yeah.
But then we, like how we have bases everywhere, we just, came in and said, oh, hey, we're the United States. We're going to wave our big dick around. That harbor is now ours. What are you going to do about it? So...
I don't know if it quite went that way.
Yes, it did, essentially. Oh, what we did to get Hawaii as a state was just abysmal. Disgusting. Anyway, 1890, the first U.S., Navy, Army football game took place, with the final score being Navy 24 and Army 0 at West Point. Here's a picture of it. So, Army Navy football, right there.
Yeah.
And that's
been around a long time.
Yeah. 1890, the Meiji Constitution came into effect in Japan, and the first diet convened. And I think a diet is like a meeting or something. There's a diet of worms is one of the more famous ones. It's not eating stuff.
I don't know. I don't know the meaning of that. Diet is diet to me, which is in conjunction with food.
What is a diet? Political diet. Diet, assembly. So yeah. Is a formal deliberative assembly. The term is used historically for deliberative assemblies such as the German Imperial Diet, the General Assembly of the Imperial Estates of the Holy Roman Empire, as well as a designation for modern-day legislative bodies of certain countries and states, such as the National Diet of Japan, or the German Bundestag, the Federal Diet. So
I had no idea the word was used like that.
Oh yeah, it's very weird.
Yeah.
So
I have a hard time
with
inserting that word into what they're talking
I know,
about.
right? Like, I guess it's like it's an intellectual diet. You're consuming, through your brain,
But it's talked about an assembly.
Yeah, well, that's what a diet is, assembly and all that stuff. And also, what did this constitution also entail? Because the Meiji Restoration and all that stuff was a massive thing in Japan. The Meiji Constitution, that's essentially abolishing the whole feudal age, getting rid of the samurai, getting rid of all of that stuff.
Okay.
That is like 180 on their culture. They're westernizing. So 1893, Zhejiang Institute, today known as Wuhan University, was founded by Zhang Zedong, governor of Hubei and Hunan provinces, in the late Qing dynasty of China. After his memorial to the throne was approved by the Qing government. All right. 1897, England's first motorcycle race took place in Surrey. All right. Forgot to apostrophe S that. 1899, Football Club Barcelona was founded by Catalan, Spanish, and Englishmen, later to develop into one of Spanish football's most iconic and strongest teams. All right, yeah, FC Barcelona, still around today. Big.
Oh, yeah.
Very big. Well, it was founded not just by Spanish, but, it says here, English and, what was the other one? Catalan, whoever Catalan were, but yeah. Moving on up into the 1900s, 1901 East 182nd Street in the Bronx was paved and opened.
Paved,
hoorah! Yeah, well, hey, cars coming. 1910, the first United States patent for inventing a traffic light system was issued to Ernest Serene. And here's a picture of it. We were talking about this. They were designed after the railroad, signals and everything, because they already had that already. So moving on up, let me get rid of that. Go away. There we go. What else do we got here? 1915, a fire destroyed most of the buildings on Santa Catalina Island, California.
We were talking about that.
We were looking at it. Yeah, we were up on the overlook, looking way out. There's Catalina popping,
so clear today, it was just standing right there.
Yeah.
Like we could touch it.
But, so when I saw this, because I hadn't gotten up to this until, earlier today, I saw that, I'm like, wow, that's kind of weird. You were just looking at that.
Yeah.
But here's, an image of that. Look at that.
That's an old picture.
Actually, that does not,
early 1900s.
Yeah, but you can see, it looks like there were some, buildings here.
Oh, yeah, well, Santa Catalina has been there for a long time, but it wasn't much, was it?
Well, no, this is post-fire.
Yeah.
So you
can
see,
okay, we're looking at devastation.
Yeah, no, you see how all the open lots, there's this building that's functioning, but look at the piers. They all look destroyed and burnt and all this stuff. You can see houses back here, but all the stuff near the shoreline, right here, that looks destroyed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, getting some...
26 miles.
Getting some Lahaina vibes here. 1916, the United States of America declared martial law in the Dominican Republic. I wonder why. That was 16, so I wonder if it's related to the World War I. So...
It would have been after World War I. Right?
No, World War I ended in 1918, 2 years later.
Okay.
1914 to 18.
I always try to make it a few years earlier.
Yeah,
So it went from 14 to 18?
Yes.
Okay.
Officially.
Yeah.
1922, the Armenian Revolutionary Committee declared Armenia to be a Soviet Socialist Republic, starting 71 years of Soviet rule in Armenia. Bad decision. So, but at least it ended. Nothing lasts forever, so that's good. 1923, the Dawes Commission, chaired by United States banker Charles G. Dawes, was set up to look into the German economic situation and make recommendations that the United States can accept. Oh, great, we have a banker. No wonder why Germany got screwed. They had a banker go in there and just totally wreck them because they knew how to do it. Wow. So, 1926, former baseball player Trish Speaker resigned as a manager of the Cleveland Indians while facing game-fixing allegations.
Oh, that's why it's in there for game.
Yeah.
Game fixing.
Yeah. 26 as well. W. Somerset Maugham's comedic play The Constant Wife premiered in New York City. That sounds more like a horror tragedy to me. The Constant Wife.
Constant
you like,
Wife.
you know, like you want to in your ear constantly. Are you crazy? Are you cucked? Like,
I wonder what the Constant Wife really means. Does it mean what you're saying?
Well, I mean, if that's the first thing I think of, then there's something wrong. So.
She's constantly being the ideal wife. What it could be either. You go either way.
Well.
What was yours again?
Yeah, as Bill Burr likes to do.
Why am I not surprised with your interpretation?
Well, anyway, 1929, United States Admiral Richard E. Byrd led the first expedition to fly over the South Pole, sending, quote, "My calculations indicate that we have reached vicinity of South Pole," end quote. And I put in here because I have yet to do the actual research. Richard E. Byrd was an aviator and polar explorer, but I'm not sure what he was exactly in 1929.
But that's the South Pole.
Yes.
I always thought he was the guy that did the North Pole, but maybe he did both.
He probably did both. I mean, like a polar.
He would have done the North.
He was a polar explorer. He was a polar explorer. It says, remember, so that could be both.
Yeah.
So
probably was.
Yeah.
And the North Pole would have been
a lot easier.
It's one more accessible.
1933, the first state liquor stores were authorized in Pennsylvania. Oh, gee, how convenient. The government bans alcohol, then legalizes it, and then has government-owned stores that sell it. What a grift. What a grift, man. 1933, Japan began the persecution of communists. Good. Good. That's what those people deserve. 1934, the Chicago Bears, beat Detroit 19-16 in the first National Football League game broadcast nationally. All right.
So that's probably radio.
Well, yeah, it's not TV
No.
yet. Certainly not the internet. It's not live streaming. So, 1935, physicist and Nobel laureate Erwin Schrödinger. Hold on a second, I misplaced that parenthesis. Probably late future Nobel laureate. Erwin Schrödinger published his famous thought experiment, Schrödinger's cat, a paradox that illustrated the problem of the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics.
That was on the Big Bang Theory, Schrödinger's cat.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, well, as the joke goes, I go into a library and ask the receptionist if they have anything involving Pavlov's cat, and they said it rang a bell, but they couldn't find it.
Oh.
1938, Mayor Ode of Rotterdam forbade a soccer match between the Netherlands and Germany, and that was 1938, so it must be something to do with Nazi Germany,
Yeah.
I mean, we barred South Africa from the Olympics a couple of times because of apartheid.
Yeah.
So 1939, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics dropped diplomatic relations with Finland, and I believe that has something to do with the Winter or Continuation War. If those two are two different things or just the same thing with different names.
I don't know.
But the Soviet Union did want it. As we've talked about beforehand, Finland was part of Tsarist Russia. Because a couple weeks ago we spoke about Tsar Nicholas III having some kind of jurisdiction over Finland. And then after the Soviets took over Russia, Finland was its own thing. And then the Soviets have since been trying to take Finland back in.
So you're saying Finland used to be part of Russia?
It was, yes.
Didn't know that.
Yes. Well, so it was some other places were part of the Soviet Union, and that's why...
I know they have a big border with Russia.
Yeah. Well, I mean, during World War II...
border, I should say.
During World War II, Finland and Russia were having their own war called the Winter War. And you probably remember the White Death, that sniper, really good sniper.
Yeah.
Ate snow to keep his breath cool, so all that stuff, and intentionally did not use a scope, so that way the lens flare didn't give away his position. He was a top-notch marksman. But no, Finland only joined up with Nazi Germany. So that way they have, a bigger bodyguard because Russia wanted to come in and take them over. Russia was also fighting, Germany. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, So there's a lot of stuff to be said about that. But anyway, we're going to move on up here to 1941. The passenger ship Lurline sent a radio signal of the sighting of the Japanese war fleet. and I believe that's the one heading. It wasn't I think it might have been yesterday or the day before. I'm not sure because we haven't done a show in a couple of days. But like as I've been, because off of camera here, I've been doing a lot of work and all that stuff. So it was either yesterday or the day before. I believe, in 1941 was when the fleet actually left the harbor en route to Pearl Harbor.
Okay.
So it would take a couple weeks.
Yeah.
1942, the United States Office of Price Administration rationed coffee for everyone to 10 pounds per year. And that makes me wonder, when did he lift it? Because it has to have been before Mom discovered mud. If that was still around when she got the coffee, it would have ended really quick. You ain't keeping coffee away from that woman. Nuh-uh. So, 1943, the second session of the Anti-Fascist Council for the National Liberation of Yugoslavia, also known as AVNOJ, which had been held to determine the post-war ordering of the country, concluded in Zagreb, present-day Bosnia and Herzegovina. And I wonder what it decided. Just told us that it was, decided, but what?
Yeah, they should have been a little more specific.
Yeah. Well, that's why I put these footnotes in, so that way eventually, somewhere along the line, we'll add in more information. 1943, the United States aircraft carrier Hornet was launched, and here's a photograph of it, actually.
Oh,
that's pretty cool.
That's a great shot.
I know, yeah. I wonder if that's the current president right there. I mean, these all have to be heads of state. It's an aircraft carrier. You don't launch those every day.
No.
You don't even launch those once every year or so, that's a massive thing. 1944, Albania was liberated by the partisans from Nazi control, celebrated today as National Day. All right. 44 as well, Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore performed the first open heart surgery.
Ooh.
Yeah. And in 44 as well, this can't be right because Mom was born in 41 and she was this. The first surgery on a human to correct blue baby syndrome was performed by Alfred Balalock and Vivian Thomas. But no, Mom was born in 41 and she was born backwards, upside down, and blue.
Yeah, but they did it with a blood transfer.
Okay, so
transfusion.
So it wasn't a surgery.
No.
So, yeah. Man, that woman, just literally, the moment she was born, she was fighting for her dear life.
Yeah.
Upside down, backwards, and blue, had how many strokes, had a heart attack, her brain malfunctioned, they had to put a shunt into there so that way the spinal fluid can drain out, had a metal and plastic cage around her neck. My God, she set off the alarms at the TSA, because she had so much crap in her body. She was legitimately a cyborg, 1945, the Socialist Federal People's Republic of Yugoslavia was declared / proclaimed. 1946, Dutch Minister in Social Affairs William de Vries began the emergency rule of old age facilities. What was the rule of old age facilities?
I don't know.
I want to know. 1947, the United Nations General Assembly approved the United Nations partition plan for Palestine. So, once again, Palestine was there first, and then within 1 year, 1 million colonizers had come in. We spoke about this a couple shows ago. By 1948, over 1 million Jews were in Israel. If that is not an invasion colonization, I don't know what is. Legitimately, I don't. And we have a continuation of this here. 1947, anti-Jewish riots in Aleppo erupted after the United Nations voted to partition Palestine between Arabs and Jews, with the cost of 75 lives and the disappearance of medieval manuscript of Aleppo Codex. Obviously, nobody wanted it, but the invaders did, and they get what they want. So because how is denying Jews already claimed land anti-Jewish? Seriously, how is it anti-Jewish riots when they're going into somebody else's house and taking it over? How is that anti-Jewish? It's anti-invasion, and right here I have an image. This all used to be Palestine, and Israel, just gradually takes more and more and more, and now there is no more Palestine. It's been completely conquered. So nothing different than what we did to the Native Americans. Absolutely nothing different. So 1947. French forces carried out a massacre at Mai Trac in Vietnam during the First Indochina War, and I wonder how many people died from that. What the casualties were, dead, wounded, injured, or missing. And this is, before we got in there. This is, French.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah.
Moving on to 1948, the first opera to be televised, Othello, was broadcast from the Metropolitan Opera House in New York City.
Whoa.
Oh, Othello. So it's a Shakespearean work there.
Yeah.
49, the nationalist regime of China left for Formosa, known today as Taiwan. I'm talking about the real China, not those communist fakers over in West Taiwan. So, 1949, uranium mine explosions occurred in East Germany, killing 3,700 people. Yikes. Yeah, mine explosions. So, 52, Dwight D. Eisenhower, former United States World War II general, as well as supreme commander of all Allied forces in Europe during that conflict,
Right.
and current president-elect to become the 34th president, fulfilled a campaign promise by traveling to Korea to find out what can be done to end the conflict. Well,
You didn't come up with an answer.
no, unfortunately. 1953, American Airlines began their first regular commercial New York to Los Angeles, California air service. And I wonder if it was the first ever or their specifically first. It doesn't say, it just just says begin first. Not the first, not their first, just first. So which one is it? The first or their first? That's why I put in these footnotes here. 56, Krish Brasher became the first Briton to win an Olympic gold medal in track and field since 1936, so 20 years, claiming the 3,000-meter steeplechase in 8 minutes 41.2 seconds at the Melbourne Games. He was initially disqualified, but the ruling was reversed on appeal. All right. 57, New York Mayor Robert Wagner formed a committee to replace the Dodgers and the Giants, and I wonder why.
Because they moved out here.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, well, the Dodgers moved out. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then the Giants moved to San Francisco.
Why?
At the same time.
Because California stole them, much like many other things, like the Lakers.
Sometimes.
Am I wrong? They took the friggin' Lakers from the Lakes. Like,
they moved them to a desert, but they're still the Lakers.
Yeah, we just keep stealing things. So.
And now a lot of states, when a franchise decides to move, they can't stop them from moving, but they'll stop them from taking the name. So a lot of teams now, the name will stay in like Minnesota, and then they come out here, and they could make them the Los Angeles Desert.
Yeah. And we have a comment here on the Rumble side from Heath613. He says, liked and followed. Thank you very much. I very much appreciate your like and follow.
Hoorah.
Yeah. And he has what appears to be the Canadian flag, or at least a maple leaf for his symbol. So,
okay.
yeah.
A Canuck. I love it.
Yeah, hey, he's a Canuck. So, but let's see here. 1961, following the failure of the Bay of Pigs invasion, Central Intelligence Agency Director Alan Dulles resigned and was replaced by John McCone. Remember back in the day where, doing horrible things makes you resign? Literally, like today's world, we had to drag that bitch kicking and screaming out of her position as the head of the Secret Service after her complete and utter failure. And she just would not step down. And we had to force her out. We had to force that bitch out. 1961, Freedom Riders were attacked by a white mob at a bus station in Mississippi, and I'm wondering if this is because of the Civil Rights Movement, the Montgomery bus boycott. It's around that time. I don't know the exact time.
It's a little bit after what you're talking about.
Well, the Freedom Riders are, people who are...
Yeah, the movement's still going. Yes, yes.
Actually, no, that's not boycotting the bus, because you can't boycott and ride the bus at the same time.
Right.
But the Freedom Riders, I believe, are those who refuse to sit in the back. Like Rosa Parks, spearheaded.
Yeah.
61, Mercury Atlantis 5, carrying Enos, a chimpanzee, was launched into space, going on to orbit the Earth twice before splashing down off the coast of Puerto Rico. And I wonder if the chimp survived. Because I know Lakia or whatever,
I believe
and
he did, if I'm not mistaken.
The Russian animals did not survive. I know that, but I wonder if the chimp did. So, 1962, Great Britain and France decided to jointly build the Concorde supersonic airliner. All right. And a couple days prior, once again, I'm not sure if we did a show, but I think it was a couple days ago, was the last flight of the Concorde anniversary.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they had no chance of survival. It was just taking off, breaking the sound barrier, and people live around these airports. all of a sudden you're getting boom,
Yeah. 1962 as well, Major League Baseball decided to revert to one All-Star game per year after 4 seasons in which 2 All-Star games were played.
No, I didn't know. I don't remember that. Obviously, I knew.
That sounds a little wild. How can you have 2 All-Star games?
Well, they must have had one in the American League and one in the National League.
Oh. Okay.
They switched, and one was home and one was a visitor.
Okay. Oh, that would make sense. 1 year later, 1963, in the single "I Wanna Hold Your Hand," recorded back on October 17th of that year, was released by the Beatles in the United Kingdom. So this is when it was released.
Oh, that's in the United Kingdom. And then I wonder how long it took it to get here.
Well, when was...
not long.
When was "I Wanna Hold Your Hand" released in the USA? Let's see here. November 29th. Well, that's the UK. Okay, here we go. December 26th.
So it was a month later.
Roughly, almost. Yeah. By 3 days. 1963 as well, the 36th United States President Lyndon B. Johnson established the Warren Commission to investigate the assassination of 35th U.S. President John F. Kennedy.
Yeah. That hasn't held up well over time for history.
No, the Warren Commission was such a BS. This guy here, frickin' Johnson, was to some part the reason why Kennedy was eliminated. He had something to do with it. Because there's a picture as Johnson was getting sworn in on Air Force One, he had a smirk and there was some other people giving each other looks. The wife of Kennedy was there and she looked like she was in on it too. The whole thing.
You're stretching it.
No, I that's not my interpretation. That's somebody else's.
No,
but
I'm sure it's out there. There's more conspiracies on that death than I think anything else. Anyways, the Warren Commission has not held up well over time.
Nope. 64, the Roman Catholic Church in the United States of America replaced Latin with English. Huh. That seems like a move in the wrong direction, because you're now just causing people to get dumber, not seeking education on how to speak another language, just simplifying things to make us...
But English isn't the only language, What if you only speak French?
Yeah.
Might as well keep it in Latin,
Yeah, keep it in Latin. 65, Dale Cummings did 14,118 consecutive sit-ups. Wow. His abs must have been ridiculous after that. 14,118 consecutive sit-ups. Non-stop.
No, I got it. Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah. And we're going to get off the beaten path here because I haven't gotten up to this point in my polishing. We have the first NBA game in 1966 at Oakland Coliseum Arena. Warriors beat Bulls 108 to 101. Let's see here. I gotta take this 1970. England cricket batsman Colin Cowdrey reached 22 on day 3 of the drawn first test against Australia in Brisbane to become Test cricket's leading run scorer, past countryman Wally Hammond's world Test record aggregate of 7,249 runs.
Cricket.
Okay, cool.
You did that to me.
I did, because it's hilarious. 1971, we have the first pro golf championship at Walt Disney World.
Huh.
That's interesting. Okay. Oh, this one's pretty big. 1972, co-founder of Atari, Nolan Bushnell, released Pong, the first commercially successful video game, at Andy Capp's Tavern in Sunnyvale, California. Hey! California, the home to the world's first commercially successful video game. California's not all shit. I mean, it is today, but it wasn't back in the time. And hey, the good times.
California was a great place back in the day.
Yeah, it was, and it can be again. We just got to get rid of the idiots. 1974, we have Coco the Clowns. His actual name was Nikolai Polyankov. A special memorial service was held for him at St. Paul's Cathedral in London, England. He was a famous clown, apparently. Yeah. Let's see here. 1975, 38th U.S. President Gerald Ford signed Education for All Handicapped Children Act, requiring states to provide free education for children with a disability. Well, that's not free. Now the taxpayers have to pay for that?
Well, they had to accommodate.
That's not right.
they had to accommodate disabled children. Is what I meant.
Well, if the parents decide to have a disabled child, then it's up to the parents to afford something.
What do you mean decided to have it? They don't say, let's have a disabled child this time.
Abortions are a thing. I mean, it's awful. It's awful. Okay. It's awful, but it's an option. Now, if you're going to have a child...
I'm not saying it's not an option, but you can't condemn it if they don't take it.
But if they lean on taxpayer dollars to supplement, what they need to get the child the care it needs, then now you're leaning on other people unfairly. It's not up to the tax dollars.
It depends. It's not always an option to all people. A lot of people, it is not an option ever.
Well, it shouldn't be up to the taxpayers.
You can't knock that belief.
It should not be up to the taxpayers to afford this. I'm sorry.
Well, all they are doing is requiring to accommodate for disabled children. It's just
by taking money out of taxpayers' wallets. That's not right.
Every corner, at least in this country, they have gone and they've cut down the curbs and made them wheelchair accessible, so you can get up a curb on a corner of a street.
And that's good for more than just wheelchair people. What if people who have a hard time walking? That gets them up on the sidewalk easier. So it's more than just wheelchair people. It helps.
I'm just saying, in a lot of ways, we accommodate disabled people.
We do. That helps more than just
children
disabled.
Is probably one of the most important things to accommodate.
Not when it comes to taxpayer dollars. I'm sorry.
Well, wait a second. We're already spending millions, if not billions, of dollars in taxpayer money on education. You have to be all-inclusive and accommodate with those dollars.
Okay, let me take it a step back. If two people decide to have a child, period, disabled or otherwise, if they decide to have a child and they cannot themselves accommodate the needs of that child, they should not be having that child. It is not up to the taxpayer dollar to supplement what they cannot afford.
So
I'm sorry.
Wait, so you were telling me that it's economics? If you can't afford it, you can't have that kid? Is that what you're telling me? It's economics?
Yes.
Yes.
No, basic. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. It's unfair. Okay, if my neighbor has a kid, and then they come over here and asking me for money to help raise the kid, is that right? No. Well, what's the difference between that and this situation with taxes? Nothing.
No, it's everything different.
No, it's the same thing. I'm still paying for something that's not my shit.
We're talking about the government being required to add accommodating.
And the government is too big.
Now, if you're not going to pay any money for education children, then that's a different thing. But
education should not be mandated.
It has to be all-inclusive.
Education should not be up to the government. It should be up to society. People should decide for themselves. Education.
Now you're getting off on a different topic.
Education is a good thing. Don't get me wrong, but it should not be mandated by the government. Afuela. Anyway, moving on up to 1982, Michael Jackson released Thriller, the best-selling music album of all time. All right. Let's see here. 1987, North Korean agents planted a bomb on Korean Air Flight 858, resulting in the deaths of all 115 passengers and crew, exploding over the Thai-Burmese border. So, yikes. And you can see here, how I'm jagged. I have this from one article or from one source and this from another, and I have yet to combine these two into one. So,
okay.
But we have here 1987 as well. National Football League quarterback Joe Montana of the San Francisco 49ers completed a National Football League record of 22 consecutive passes, and I wonder if the record still stands.
He was a great one.
Still the record? Yeah. I mean, I don't really know who he was, but the name Joe Montana is in my head for a reason.
Great quarterback.
I don't give a fiddler's fuck about, celebrities, about, athletes, but if a name is in my head, it's in my head for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it the record today?
I don't know. I'm not going to look it up because
I thought you looked it up.
No, I just typed it up here just so that way I will look it up.
That's fine. I don't care.
We're only in the 1980s and we have about 16 minutes left, so I got to
hustle.
Yeah. 1987, the New Orleans Saints won, assuring their first winning National Football League season.
No,
all right.
Yeah.
87, the New York Rangers, right? New York Rangers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hockey.
Okay. Bob Feller, or not Feller, Bob Frosey became the second goalie to score a goal, specifically versus the New York Islanders, but it was later ruled that he should not be credited with the goal. That's not right.
No.
So
I thought it wasn't Bob Feller because he was a pitcher.
Yeah. Well, Bob something. So yeah, I saw Bob Fr. You know, just like Feller. You know.
Yeah.
Once again, you know, like I don't know who the hell that guy was, but I remember the name Bob Feller. You know, so. 1990, the United Nations Security Council approved a United States-sponsored resolution authorizing the use of force in the Persian Gulf if Iraq does not withdraw from Kuwait by January 15th, 1991. And they did not, and we came over there.
Yeah, we told them why they should have.
Yeah. 1991 as well, a dust storm in California's San Joaquin Valley resulted with a massive vehicle accident on Interstate I-5 involving 93 cars and 11 trucks near Coalinga, resulting with 17 deaths and 150 injuries. Woo!
Lord.
Wow, on the 5. I mean,
yeah.
Like the 5.
I remember something about like that, but I thought it was with fog, so it may have been something else.
Well, it's a dust storm, so fog, dust storm, you know.
Yeah, it
like,
could have been the same thing.
Maybe you saw it and you thought it was fog, you know? Because it looks, dust storm.
I just remember that massive car accident like that, back car after car after car.
1994, Seoul, Korea celebrated the 600th anniversary of its founding. Wow, that's an old city.
600. Wow.
Yeah, impressive. 1995, CNN-FN. What is CNN-FN? Financial, I think. A financial network, by Turner Enterprise, was launched.
Yeah,
so,
CNN, CNN. Yeah. Well, this was FN, they're financial.
Communist News Network, Chinese News Network, Clinton News Network. Which one? Or all three? 1995, the 42nd United States President Bill Clinton lifted the ban on exports of oil from the Alaskan North Slope. This ban had been imposed after the oil embargo by Arab oil producers in 1973.
I'm confused what that means. He lifted the ban? We didn't... What?
He lifted the ban, apparently.
Of Alaskan oil? He banned Alaskan oil?
He lifted the ban on exports of oil from the Alaskan North Slope.
So we couldn't... At one time, we couldn't export Alaskan oil?
I guess,
what it's saying?
Maybe only for domestic use it was being used for.
I guess.
I mean, this was it's talking about 1973,
right?
And that was caused by by OPEC or whatever, and the Arabs being extremely greedy with their oil and trying to manipulate shit.
Yeah, maybe we required it for that time to be consumed domestically.
Yeah, well, speaking of OPEC, 1997 here, OPEC agreed to an increase in its production ceiling, going on to raise the ceiling to 27.5 million barrels per day for the first half of 1998. All right. 2001, United Nations Security Council unanimously approved a resolution extending the Oil for Food program in Iraq for another 6-month period. Huh. 2002, the Concert for George, a benefit memorial to singer-songwriter George Harrison, was held at the Royal Albert Hall in London, featuring rocker, blues guitarist, and singer-songwriter Eric Clapton, Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, Jeff Lynne, Tom Petty, Joe Brown, Anushka Shankar, Billy Preston, and members of Monty Python.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a pretty big one right there. 2003, the first of anti-apartheid activists and South African President Nelson Mandela. Well, he wasn't president in 2003 by then, right? He was president in the 90s. And former.
I don't know it's time for him to tell you the truth.
Former? I don't know. 46,664 AIDS benefit concerts was held at Greenport Stadium, Cape Town. Holy crap.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
2007, a 7.4 magnitude earthquake occurred off the northern coast of Martinique, affecting the eastern Caribbean as far north as Puerto Rico and as far south as Trinidad. Wow. Let's see. Nope, no more other comments. 2007, the armed forces of the Philippines laid siege to the Peninsula Manila Hotel after soldiers, led by Senator Antonio Trillanes, staged a mutiny. Well, that would cause it. 2009, Maurice Clemens shot and killed 4 police officers inside a coffee shop in Lakewood, Washington. Lakewood, I think Washington State.
Could be, it would have been D.C. after it if it wasn't the state.
Well, no, it just said W.A., so I think that's Washington.
Yeah, that's Washington.
But W.A. can also be...
It'll be W.A.D.C.
It would just be
you have to have the D.C.
to
distinguish it.
Anyway, but why did
I don't know.
she shoot or him?
I've never heard of it before.
2012, the United Nations voted to approve Palestine's status change from an observer to an observer state. See, once again, like, you think whatever you think, I think whatever I think, we're going to disagree, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you cannot disagree that it is wrong that Palestine, who was there first...
They weren't there first.
They were there first. Why are they getting just kicked to the curb? They were an observer, and then they got bumped up to an observer state. They're not an actual state. They were there before Israel was. Why are they just
Muhammad
getting...
conquered the Jews in that area.
And the Christians conquered Saladin.
Okay. I'm not going to argue what you're saying. I'm just saying you're deciding who's there first. And
I'm not deciding who's there first. What was on the map there? Palestine. What happened after? Israel. Okay? Chronologically...
On a recent map.
Go
back further, and it would have been a Jewish.
No, it wasn't a whole thing. It was a bunch of different city-states. They were broken up. They were not one unified Israel. There never was one until 1947.
Well, I don't know about the unified part.
I can tell you.
The Jews were living in that area.
So were the Arabs, and so were the Christians. So was everybody else. So was everybody else.
Go ahead.
2013, LAM Mozambique Airlines 470 crashed in the Botswana National Park in a pilot mass murder-suicide, killing all 33 people on board. Yikes. Murder-suicide there. 2017 as well, Bosnian war criminal Slobodan Parazak committed self-deletion by poison in court at The Hague after a 20-year prison term was read out. And a lot of people remember, that meme, the guy in court just, drinking the vial, because he had smuggled in some poison, in case, and he poisoned himself, and he died. So
I don't remember that. I was thinking of the war.
Well, let's see here.
That's okay.
Slobodan Parazak. I'll just look it up here. This was big on the news and everything.
A lot of war crimes.
Yeah, right there. So.
Oh, jeez. I've never seen that.
I understand and I wish to proceed. So, this is, see right there.
Yeah.
He's talking and all this stuff, saying I'm not going to go, sir. That's him drinking the poison. That's it. Right there. We just saw somebody commit self-deletion. So, which now this video is deplatformed off of YouTube for sure. 2018, tens of thousands of Indian farmers protested the agrarian crisis at the Parliament of Delhi. I wonder what was...
No idea what that is.
2019, K-pop stars Jung Jun-young and Choi Jong-hoon were sentenced to prison for gang struggle snuggling unconscious fans and distributing footage of it. Jung was specifically apparently distributing footage of that. So, wow.
Yeah.
Well, not surprised. Stuff like that comes out of that area of the world. So, 2019, a terrorist knife attack at Fishmongers Hall by London Bridge killed 2 and injured 3 others. The attacker, whom had been previously imprisoned in 2012 for a terror offense, was shot and dead. Well, this is what happens when we don't listen to people, when we put the lives of others above other, people, especially those of foreign over those of domestic. So, 2019, a wood fragment believed to be from Jesus' manger was returned to Bethlehem after 1,400 years by Pope Francis.
How could they possibly know that?
I don't know. So, but that's what they say.
Yeah.
So, 2020, former United States Senator, Vice President, and 46th President Joe, let's go Brandon, Biden, and slave owner descendant, former Senator and 49th Vice President Kamala Harris announced the first all-female communications team from the White House. And boy, did that fail miraculously. How predictable. 2021, British socialite and former girlfriend of Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, was found guilty of sex trafficking in a federal court in Manhattan. We're still waiting on the list, and now we're waiting on the Diddy stuff too.
Yeah.
So they're just adding more stuff. Hey, hey, tell us everything. The more you release to distract us from what's already known, we're just going to need to know more about that. You're just digging your hole deeper. Just keep on digging. Keep on digging. 2021, tech entrepreneur and co-founder of Twitter, Jack Dorsey, announced he was stepping down as chief executive officer of Twitter to be replaced by Parag Aragawa, whatever his name is. I can't pronounce that. 2022, for the first time, fewer than half of people in England and Wales call themselves Christian, according to the 2021 census, and that sounds like liberal propaganda. I would argue that you know, Jews and Christians, you know, obviously, you know, like Jews are number one, but Christians are a very close second, if not tying, as the most subjugated and, you know, people throughout history. You know, Christianity by the Jews was almost became extinct, you know, in the early days. Like, 2022, Malawi began a historic campaign against malaria by vaccinating children under 5 using the RTS vaccine, thought to provide 30% protection. Oh yeah, that doesn't sound good at all.
30% protection, that doesn't seem like much.
No, yeah, they just want to just pump chemicals into kids, you know, make us sterile, make us dependent on GMOs, you know, all that sort of crap. 2022 as well, Singapore's parliament repealed the British-era Section 377A, decriminalizing homosexual intercourse, but introducing amendments to protect the current definition of marriage. All right, cool. Also in 2022, Singapore, we got that one. 3 stowaways were rescued by the Spanish Coast Guard after 11 days at sea, bouncing on a ship's rudder from Nigeria to the Canary Islands. Yes.
Wow, they lasted 11 days?
Yeah, like they were on the rudder, and there's actually...
Yeah, I got that.
I've seen this picture before. Yeah, right here.
Oh, man.
Like the 11 days on that, just sitting there.
Wow.
You know, through God knows what seas, turbulence, winds, storms, spray, you know, just sitting there. You know, I wonder how many, if they had any snacks or if they just caught fish and ate them raw, you know, like...
Will be water you need more than anything. You
Yeah.
can go 11 days without food, but not water.
Well, maybe they had some bottles of water with them or something. That's wild. Moving on to 2023, just last year, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese made a national apology to the people who were affected by the thalidomide morning sickness drug over 60 years ago. What happened, like, with that? Something weird? We also have the footage of a rare giant rat. Species is Eurymoius vica, one of the world's largest rodents, the size of a newborn baby.
Oh,
Good
geez.
God. Was captured for the first time on the island of Vangungu in Solomon Islands. That sounds like an invasive species right there. So, and last but not least, the United States of America stated it had foiled an assassination attempt by an Indian national on a United States citizen who advocated for a Sikh separatist state. Wow. So, pretty wild.
Yeah.
And that shall conclude the show. Once again, please check the underbar in the description below for any links that you may be interested in, including but not limited to all things Omni Coalition. A lot of history has and continues to be made on a daily basis, and we can only bring you a portion. Check our sources for more. For your dose of passive and insanely, we stream every day or try to at 11 in the morning Pacific time. We will probably not do a show tomorrow and Sunday, because we gotta get the Christmas lights up and all that stuff. So I'm still gonna do my documents and all that stuff, but we're probably not gonna be doing a show. But Monday we should officially be back on track. But yeah, we stream at 11 in the morning Pacific time, or 12 noon Mountain, 1 Central, and 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, respectively. We do have other shows, from history to news, movie reactions and reviews, gaming, videos and memes, Omni Kitchen, and everything else in between. On Talk Show, check the underbar. For all of you and all of us, I'm Xander.
Golden Loon.
And you are you viewer, and I want to give a special shout out to our one and only commenter of today, Heath163, or Health.
Yes,
Health
thanks for that comment.
613, yes. Once again, thank you very much for liking and following, So for all of you and all of us, I am Xander.
Golden Loon, we're doing it again?
We already did that. Yeah, and until you catch us next time, don't forget to look right and left at every intersection, rate 5 thumbs, and subscribe. Toodles!